I'm glad you're still up. If you saw me earlier on the pundit's a little light in here, but we're the Cubs coverage after dark, so it's a tad bit dark in here. Shh. Hey, I'm Denzel Snipes. This is Cubfidential. I'm your producer, and we've got a great loaded show for you. We just had opening week, really, and it's already been full of thrills. Ready to get into some Cubs talk, but I'm not the guy to do it. I got a guy for me that can do it. He's been doing it. And this is the Brooklyn bad boy himself. Come on in, Mr. JB Ellis.
I've been done it. I think he said I've been done it, guys. I think that's what he said. So here we are. It was rain in Cincinnati. They called the game. No Cubs baseball today, but we're still winning because you get to see myself and the one and only Mr. Ubbs will be in here in a second. The Cubs told me, today, confidentially, that they felt they were going to get the W, but they just never got the game in. So, there's always tomorrow. You never know what's going to happen, but all I got to say is we got a week's worth of baseball to talk about. Let's get Mr. Ubbs in here. Let's talk about that team from up north, the Brew Schmoo. What's going on, Mr. Ubbs? How you doing tonight?
Good. That game, baby, it was beautiful to start out the 4-0 win, but then Ross kept coming in. It just kept coming in over and over, and then it starts with Steele getting 84 pitches. Let's remove him while he's rolling, because I don't know. Are we trying to protect arms? Well, look what happened when you tried to protect arms last year. You lose your ace, and it's like at some point, do you just kind of let it be, especially when they roll, and especially with Alcantara getting a complete game, which is rare now?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't get Ross's management style. I feel like I say this every year,
Well, his style is he's got to remember he was mentored by Madden, but the difference is Madden had years and years and years and years. It's kind of like Andy Reid in football. It's years and years to get this little system going and what you can be able to build. All he did was sit next to him and then try to figure it out. That's all Ross did. So like the bunt, like the little bunt, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about
it. I don't even want to talk about that yet because I want to talk about that game for a couple of minutes. But go ahead.
Yeah, but it's just like little things like that with the way that with these decisions that are made, stuff like that. It's nothing but it's like dollar store Madden. It's like you sat next to him. I think I'm going to do exactly what he would do. Without understanding the idea, the timing, the everything like that somebody with 20 more years experience, 30 more years experience would have. And that's what Ross should have been in the minors. I keep saying that.
So I look at the Brewers series that there was a win, a should have won, and a loss because game 3 they got killed. And it happens. You're going to have bad games. It sucks. Sometimes your pitchers just don't have it. Sometimes the guys just don't hit. So they should have been 2-1. They were 1-2. Brewers are a decent team. I think this Cubs roster is actually better than the Brewers roster.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at them after the first week, I'm still confident about that. But I think the thing that holds the Cubs back is the guy who writes the lineup card every day. And I think that's going to be the factor as why this team's not going to go anywhere.
Right. And it's like, the thing is, I don't see Ross fit. I thought he was gone by the mid of last year after they got swept by the Yankees. I thought he was absolutely gone. They extended him, but that doesn't mean anything anymore in the first place. So you can get it at any time, especially now with the players that they got. A Bellinger, the Dansby Swanson. You get those. If they start struggling now, I don't see him sticking.
And that Bellinger move, I'm still going to say that was the best move of the offseason. They got him for a cheap price. It's a show-me contract. You either do it or you don't. The Cubs aren't expected to win the World Series. You have a shot. If Bellinger does well, maybe you sign him long-term. If he doesn't, no big deal because you weren't going to win anyway this year.
Well, that Bellinger pickup, the biggest thing with it is the fact that I'm still never going to be thrilled with it considering there are better ones out there. But the one thing about the Bellinger pickup is the fact that you're going to get what he has. Like against the Brewers, basically, 0 forever. And then it looks like he's dead against the Reds, and then he gets 3 for 5. And it's like you're going to get those. You know what that is? It's about a 220 average. So that's what you're going to get with him.
You know, give him some time. Let him get comfortable. We'll see how it turns out. But he's also a great center fielder.
That is true.
Defensively, it's a great pickup as well. So I'm really high on that move. Let's go into Dansby Swanson, the first Cub since 1901 to have three-hit games in the first 4 games of the season. Could Swanson become the Cubs' #1 guy?
If Ross Loss doesn't move him around like he moved everybody else around, then yes, absolutely. It's like, I love you guys. I love you have Horner at the top and keep him there. But it's like, I love this lineup because it's like you got Horner and then you've got the Swanson. I mean, Swanson is just, he's fitting 500 right now. And it's like that's on range to be about a 300 hitter. So I'd love to see him hit all fields, get about 28 homers and a nice 300 average. And he'll struggle at certain times, but I'd love to see where he goes.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he's going to continue this from what you've seen him in past years when he was in Atlanta?
Oh, 280. Yeah. 500. No. That's you're going to have your
obviously,
struggles.
I'm not talking about 500. There's no such thing in Major League Baseball. But do you think that he could, be a 330, 320 hitter?
I'll say this: if that would be his Cody Bellinger in 2017 deal. That would be that. But 280, absolutely. I mean, that is a guarantee. 280, and he has got good the defense at shortstop. That was one I liked. I love Swanson getting that. I was like, I would have loved more, but Swanson's a nice pickup because also I've seen 3 games with him in person. He's a darn good player.
Awesome. So let's get into the Ross thing. I mean, this is going to be a quicker show since it's just the 2 of us. Yeah. We're not gonna waste everybody's time because we have a week's worth of baseball to discuss. We all know what we saw. We're not even going to get into the buds at this point. We're going to start at the beginning of the game. First inning, Cubs come up at the top of the first, score a run easily. They move runners around. They get a run in. Bottom of the first, the Reds get people on. Guy on third. Ross brings the infield in. First inning, 1-0 game. Now, here's my thinking on it. If you are in the first inning and you've scored a run already, I'm not winning the game 1-0. That's not happening.
Exactly.
Why are we playing the infield in? Let's get the out. And sure enough, base hit right through the infield. They will play a regular depth, got the out, the run would have scored. Exactly what happened was their infield was in. All of a sudden, boom, they got a hit, and runners advanced. It was just horrible. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, when you talk about like the first thing, they get their easy score and the base and they move around the bases and it looks really good. That's the mind of a player that's played for so long that any manager could make that wins 60 games. You get my point? You win 60, lose 60. That's what they have the ability of. The ones that lose the majority do what he did. They do what he did, like moving and the ball gets through. It's like you overthink. You're terrible situationally. You have terrible the situational awareness. You have terrible one of those. Those are the ones that lose the majority. That's why. See why a team will win 60. Why a manager will win 60 is because of the basics that you talked about. Every manager knows them. Hell, we know them. You get them around, get them to steal bases, do all that stuff. But it's just situational awareness is what causes the wrong problems.
Then let's talk about, before we get to the buds, because we're going to get to the buds. I have, that's an important thing. Let's talk about the other game in Cincinnati. Cubs jump out to a 3-0 lead. I believe it was Steele was pitching, gives up 3 runs. Now, second inning, goes out there again, gives up another 3 runs. Now, I get you want to stay with your starters, but you're taking one guy out who's throwing a good game after 84 pitches, and you're leaving a guy in there that just gave up the lead in the first inning, and not a 1-run lead, which, listen, scratching a run together in baseball should happen frequently because you're talking about the best players in the game. But giving up 3 runs and then sending him back out there and you see he's getting in trouble again and you don't pull him. I mean, what are you doing? Why are you pulling a pitcher that's throwing a good game and leaving a guy in who's just giving up leads and putting you so far behind?
I think and I can say this, especially with someone like Ross. I think one of the biggest issues we have with the bullpen, with making the bullpen a majority of a game. Like before, you could have complete games like crazy in Major League Baseball, but with the bullpens and the strategies of the bullpens being the majority of a pitching staff now, and what you have to have, it makes managers do stupid things. I mean, you don't know what you're doing. Like, why would you pull somebody at 84 pitches when they're rolling? Oh, but we need to get our guy in. But then because we got to get our bullpen and we got to do all this, by the way, we've overworn out our bullpen. So then now we get a guy who's struggling. We can't play them because we pitched him like crazy the other time, and we've been doing this. So it's all the thing is like we're trying to save our arms in the bullpen. You don't have to save the arms in the bullpen if Steele gets the finish.
Just horrible, horrible managing. Then let's go to the bunt with Patrick Wisdom. Now, I love the idea of bunting.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that the concept of bunting was bad. There were two problems with it. Wisdom is a power hitter, and Wisdom got hit on the wrist earlier in the game. Wisdom is an important part of your team. Yes, he's not a superstar, but he is an important role player for the Cubs. After he got hit on the wrist, I think it was in the first or second inning, I am not putting his hand anywhere close to where the ball is going to be,
Exactly.
where he can get hurt. You know, now I do love the idea of bunting and trying to scrape runs together. I'm all for that strategy, but it has to be done properly. This was another bonehead move. I mean, we're talking about 1 week of baseball, and do you realize how many problems we have with when this team's managed?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's sitting next to Madden. Everything I've brought up since day one with Ross saying he needed to be in the minors and learning his trade instead of doing this in the biggest league in the world. And these are the things, and this is what happens. Yeah, Madden did that. He did it with Rizzo. Yes, of course he did. He did it with Brian. Of course he did, because that was Joe Madden. He had 25 years of being crazy and making mistakes, and it just worked out to get a World Series and to be able to get to playoffs. But you get that when you get 30 years. You don't do it right now and just you're just sitting next to the guy it's like you're sitting next to Andy Reid, you're Nagy, and you're sitting next to Andy Reid. Oh, I know what to do now. And then you blow it. It's like There's nuance to what these old guys do. They've had years of having to learn and make the mistakes and know when to do it and when not. And when you put Ross in, instead of going to the minors, put him in the majors right off the bat. Nice guy, yes. Good catcher, definitely. But when you don't give him any kind of coaching thing, like a third base coach, to be able to consult catchers, any of that kind of stuff before he gets this kind of level, go to the minors. This stuff happens because you're just thinking, what would Madden do? Well, Madden had knowledge. Madden had years to deal with this. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, it's quite disappointing to watch him manage this team. I mean, I'm going to put 2 losses on him already in a week's worth of baseball. So the Cubs have 2 wins and
3 losses.
3 losses in a week's worth of baseball, and 2 of them are on him. So theoretically, say that they would have won one of those games and lost one, because just shaking it out, baseball's almost a 50-50 sport. It's very close to that.
Yeah.
You know, so theoretically, that's a huge differential.
They're first place. They're first place.
Let's go to our cover dud.
Yeah.
Time's up. Ross will be fired before midseason. What's your thoughts?
I said that after the Yankees sweep, and I was wrong. But at the same time, they didn't have the same lineup, and then they lost their ace, which I never saw coming, considering how he pitches. I never was seeing it, but I guess if you throw 84 and you have that kind of torque, you're going to blow your shoulder someday. But he lost that. Then then he had a different type, so I guess he was given a shot. But you got Bellinger, you got Dansby, you've got Italian from the Yankees. You picking up people. If he's at the All-Star break and struggling, then he's gone. If not before it, even with the extension, you just pay it out.
I completely get it. I think time to make a change. I'd have made it this week. I'd have made it last week. I'd have made it last year. I'd have made it the middle of last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have made it at the beginning of last year. I think my answer is, sorry, David Ross, you're a great person. This isn't personal. This is business. I wish you well. As I tell to people, it's never personal. It's just business. Have a
And
good
now
night.
he can go to the Yankees. Now he can go to the Yankees. And
No, we got enough trouble with our manager, but our manager doesn't do some of the things Ross does. So we're gonna wrap up with the Hot Cub Time Machine. So if you saw us on Twitter talking to the Cubs today, the Cubs were loving hearing about the Hot Cub Time Machine. We're gonna go back to the end of summer, August 30th, 2015. Jake Arrieta no hits the Dodgers, 12 strikeouts and a walk, one lousy walk. Tell us about that.
Darn near the perfect game. One of the greatest games I've ever seen in my life. But I think about one thing I used to think about was I had never seen a no-hitter in person until Carlos Zambrano. Like in person, but on TV. Then Zambrano does it in Houston. And then you don't think about it. And then here's Arrieta. And then what does Arrieta do? You know what I'm saying? He does that. And it's like, Jake Arrieta was just one of those guys. It's like he's not a Hall of Famer, but he just chose our team to be dominant because he was dominant nowhere else. It was kind of, he was basically Casey Stengel of the day, where every other team he was pure and other crap, but with the Yankees, like 7 World Series. Jake Arrieta, crap everywhere, Cubs dominate everywhere, crap everywhere, retired. And it's like, so basically he's Stengel. He was Stengel of this era where he picked the one team and it ends up being ours, and he's dominant.
So what do you look forward to over the next week from this team?
Well, let's just hope there's no more rainouts because I like to be able to see. I want to see how, considering this is 500 is where, because he was 772, 773. That's what Dansby was. Now it's down to 500, so he's starting to come down to earth a little. I like to see if he continues to hit the ball to all fields, and he continues to just shorten the spat, to hit the ball hard when he needs to, and does that, or if he starts forcing it, because he's coming down to earth little by little now, even though it's a good batting percentage. So I want to see that. I want to see if Bellinger goes back to normal, or if he's going to be back to his 0-4 for the next 4 games. Stuff like that, but he's a great center field, like you said. And I want to, and the thing, now remind me who they played this week, now that the Reds are gone.
So now that the Reds are gone, the Cubs will be at home against, hang on one second, I'm waiting for my trusty app to load. On Friday, the Cubs are playing the Rangers, thanks to interleague play. And then after that, the Cubs will be playing the Seattle Mariners.
Those are 2 good teams and good things. Well, Rangers really not, but Seattle is. They're up and coming. But I will tell you this: there's a possibility of a Stroman and DeGrom to showdown. That would be really. See, no. Here's the thing: DeGrom was 3.2 innings the last time he was out there, and he has a 12 ERA, but that's not going to stick. The biggest issue will.
Today, though.
What?
I think he pitched today.
Okay, so then if that's the case, we don't get him, and that's unfortunate. But it's like
I'll tell you 1 second, but go ahead.
Yeah, but I wish you could have had that, because that would have been a really nice showdown. Something that you can put on television, you can put on ESPN. Stroman versus DeGrom. And my thing with DeGrom, it's just the idea that he's not the greatest of all time. But I've never said he wasn't a dominant when he wants to be, and when he's not hurt.
Yeah, he got the win today. Texas over Baltimore 5-2.
Oh, that's good. So it's like he came back. So what did he get? 10 strikeouts?
That's a good question. Let's look at the box real quick. And looking at the box score, DeGrom got 11 strikeouts.
Yeah,
it's 6 innings.
And let's see, and he won 6. And see, that's not all. That's the whole thing with DeGrom. If you get 6, 7 out of him every single time, that team is going to get better. The problem is 3.2 to 4.2 innings is what you normally get, and then he starts feeling sore.
Well, all I'm going to say, looking at this week's schedule, Cubs need to go and win a bunch of these games.
Well, 4 out of 6. 4 out of 6.
They gotta beat these teams. These are not top caliber teams. Later in the month, we got the Dodgers. and the Padres. So you got to take advantage of these games while you can.
Yeah.
But until then, until we get to next week, Mr. Ubbs, where can we find you?
Oh, Sunday nights, Basket Bros. Monday nights is let's see, Pundit Views, and I'm trying out a new format on Pundit Views. Like, mind you, it's not new for that, but a new show idea. I'm gonna be trying it out with a super fan for the Steelers. We're working on that idea. So it's the format is called Cap Heaven or Cap Hell. Tell you more about it offset, but it's pretty cool. Tuesday nights off, Wednesday nights the 3 shows. Pundits, South Florida Tribune, the Sports Exchange, and this. And then Thursday nights, once in a while, Yin and Yang. Friday nights, once in a while, when they call me as a backup, Gauntlet. So I stay busy.
You're nobody's backup, Mr. Ubbs. You're always number one. We enjoyed talking some Cubs baseball with you. Hopefully we have a better week this week. Hopefully we see a bunch of belly bombs and Swanson just does his thing.
Yeah.
And Mancini gets into his groove, and all things are well in Cubby land. But until then, remember, subscribe to Sideline Sports. Make sure you're watching all the shows. Make sure you're checking out everything we have to offer, because we have everything and then some. But until then, we'll see you next time on Cubfidential. We're out of here.